I want to start with you, Honorable, our Governor, and I would like to ask you to reflect back. You have been at the forefront of pushing for human rights. You have also been associated with the second liberation of our country. I want you to reflect on particularly the Bill of Rights and tell us, do you think as a country we have made steps forward or are we making steps back? Karibu sana.
Thank you very much. It's a big panel. I'm honored to be with the colleagues I see here, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. One, I think it is a great achievement that Kenya had a constitution like the one we have, which is part of Chapter 4 of the Constitution. And if you look at Article 19 of the Constitution, it talks about the centrality of the Bill of Rights. It states that the Bill of Rights is an integral part of the Kenya's democratic state. Now, without taking too much time, if you look at the main, human rights concerns and which rights are there in the Constitution, even if you look at the order in which they're spelled out in the Constitution, the right to life, the right to dignity, the right to the security of the person, the right to privacy, the right to the freedom of expression, and the right of assembly and administration. If I just take that lot of rights and examine what has happened to those rights in the last 10 years or so, I think we can generally say we are not there yet. We are constantly experiencing a situation where the state is constantly invading into these rights, and without the vigilance of the people, it is so easy in the Kenyan situation to make one step ahead and two steps back. But my comfort is that our Constitution has stayed intact. If you are aware, during the Constitution-making process, before it went to the people, it was taken to Parliament for consideration. Parliament considered nearly 100 amendments to the Constitution, and ever since, there have been attempts to amend the Constitution. I think it is part of our achievement that this Constitution has remained intact, and particularly the Bill of Rights. It is important that all of us realize the centrality of the human rights. It pervades our life, and it is found from the very beginning clauses of the Constitution, right up to the last clauses of the Constitution, so that we can build monuments, we can build roads, but without respecting human rights, we cannot build the kind of society which is spelled out in Article 3 of the Constitution, that we are a democratic, multi-party state. And I want to end up by giving this example. If you go to a place like Russia, somebody like Joseph Stalin built a lot of monuments, which you can see up to now. If you go to South Africa, you can point monuments that the evil regime of apartheid left behind. But because of their human rights record, that record is still a permanent feature of the leadership of Stalin and the leadership of the racist regime in South Africa. And the main concern for us as a country now, and looking at what I saw in the front pages of papers today, we must always be careful that building a nation is not a brick and mortar kind of exercise. What is important and what is spelled out in our preamble, what is spelled out in Article 10 of the Constitution about principles and values of good governance, is that there are some core values that must become an integral part of our democratic state. And central to it is human rights. Thank you.
Asante sana. Indeed, central to the foundation of a nation is human rights. I want to turn to you, Millie, Honorable Millie Adhiambo. You have been known to be a fighter for human rights, especially for the vulnerable person. You are now sitting in Parliament, and we've just heard the protector of the Constitution primarily is the Parliament. Now, I want you to reflect on what the governor has said, and particularly looking at the whole issue of Chapter 43, socioeconomic rights. And tell us, what do you think? Do you think Parliament can play a role to ensure that our counties deliver on this right? Because these are the tangible rights that Kenyans are asking for.
Good morning, and maybe I can start off by saying that since I come from the lakeside, I heard you introducing Senator Mungatana by saying he's a PhD student. So I must also say that I'm a PhD student on governance and leadership. But do I say? But having said that, I just want to say that what Honorable Orengo has spoken to largely is issues of civil and political rights. And you're asking me to talk about social and economic rights. And I want to say that I was born and raised in this town. When I was born and raised, it was a small and dusty town. I grew up not too far from here, where my younger years, on a street that has now been named William Ruto Street. And I was born after independence, and our parents spoke about how colonialists took away our rights and our dignity. And on the street that I grew up in, there were street lights. But then there were other amenities that were missing. But there was promise that was ripe for change, especially because the colonialists had gone away. But with the time, instead of us seeing positive move, we were actually regressing. And I'm a writer. So I started writing a novel called The Things We Lost with Freedom, because I thought we had got freedom and lost with freedom. And it's a paradox, because then we were fighting so hard to remove the colonialists and ended up losing in the process. And I was looking at it in contradiction with countries where the colonialists stayed longer, like South Africa and Zimbabwe. And you could see that they had progressed in certain things because of that. And I think it's an uncomfortable truth that a lot of us as Africans leaders don't want to deal with. That when we have been given our freedom, instead of using our freedom for progress, we use our freedom for regress. But I want to say that, fortunately, I have been forced to halt writing my book. And it is a tragedy, because I've had to halt it only because of the last probably a few years in Homa Bay, 3-4 years in Homa Bay. And the reason I halted it is because the reason I was writing this book is that I'd hoped to see the hospital bigger, better, offering better services. But it was worse than the hospital where I was born and raised in. It had gotten worse. I'd hoped the roads were tarmacked. The roads were not tarmacked. They were getting worse. Everything that we saw, we had running water in the house. There was no more running water in the house. So I was like, so why did we want freedom anyway? But that's why I'm saying it's changing in the last few years. And you can credit that to a deliberate effort by the national government towards inclusion of this area that has been marginalized for years because of being in opposition, and which is a tragedy that we don't look at issues of inclusion and governance. You know, civil and political rights really marry a lot with social and economic rights. Because if you are not in government, then you are not served. So I would actually want to challenge our government to ensure that it doesn't matter whether people are in opposition or not, include every part of the country in development. And that is why a lot of my friends, I'm here with my friends who I told them I want you to come and experience Homa Bay. In the crowd here, I have my friend who is from Nyandarua. And she was telling me, how come many places you hear people saying 1 term, and here people are just jumping saying 2 term. And I told her, if you go around here, you are seeing the roads. All these roads in reality are new. And it shouldn't be that way. It should be that development is there, and I make my decision independent of that road based on other governance facets. So what am I saying in summary? I'm saying that with the devolution, again, we are seeing now things changing. The governor for Homa Bay told us yesterday that the county government is already doing an emergency wing, a unit for Homa Bay Hospital. So that's a positive change. There are many dispensaries that are coming up in the county. That's a positive change with the devolution. So our challenge, especially as governors, is we have opportunity with the devolution for purposes of social and economic rights to change the trajectory of our own counties, to bring health care, to bring water, ensure there's access to water, health care, and services. But then, of course, again, Honorable Rengo will tell you justice delayed is justice denied. Most of us think of it in terms of civil and political rights. But in this case, the justice delayed would be how quickly do governors get money from the, the national. How quickly does the money come? And for the first time, I'm happy that, and you'll confirm to us, that the CS Treasury has said that for the first time, the money has come, all the money has come in time. Because again, even if you say that you are allocating money to governors and it comes, late, then it affects planning and delivery of service. Otherwise, what I can say as a country, that we kind of had a seesaw, but in civil and in social and economic rights, our greatest hope is with the counties working effectively. Thank you.
Thank you. Millie, I want to push a little on that, and maybe to encourage you to finish your book as a PhD student, but I also want to